take my test in October. So I'm like following the 2 month day by day plan right now. But yeah, I was previously using something else for like the past month, which I felt like wasn't really helping. And then my friend recommended me to start LSAT Unplugged. So that's why I'm here today.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad your friend did. I'm excited to have you on board. Any particular challenges you're facing that I could support you on?
I wouldn't really, I don't really know about challenges per se. So I just started, and obviously the program starts with logic games, which is something I feel better on, I would say, compared to reading comprehension. So I have looked at some of the like videos and like documents about reading comprehension, but do you have like any specific, I guess, like advice or like tips how to really get myself more engaged with the material, I would say, because obviously it's a struggle because it's just like we have to read a lot and the questions along with the timing. So I know I haven't started that part of the program yet, the reading comprehension, but yeah, if you have like any tips or advice, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And so staying engaged on reading comprehension is tough because they're deliberately making it as boring as possible. They're choosing topics that you're not likely to be familiar with, and they're wording things in a pretty dense and difficult way. So one big thing I recommend is to try and caricature or exaggerate the viewpoints or positions or people discussed in the passage. Make it something that you can relate to, even if they're not making it something you can relate to directly. So you add your own layer on top of what they're giving you, just to help you get a better grasp of it.
Okay. By exaggerate, you mean like if someone is for something or against it, like really make that like stand out?
That's one way to do it. Yeah. So you could have a pro and con. You could have an old versus new. You could have conservative versus liberal. Whatever the passage gives you to work with, those are some different templates you can layer on top of it just to better hold on to what they're talking about.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. I know there's a class tonight for reading comprehension, so I'm going to attend that and get my toes in the water.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely attend. And one big strategy we'll use as well is to dumb down the passage. So caricaturing is part of that. Another strategy you might use just as an exercise during your own review would be to rewrite the entire passage in simpler language. So just use simpler vocabulary to make sure that you really get what they're talking about. You could also focus on the structure and outline the passage using only general structural terms to help you avoid getting bogged down in the details. You'll see all of these come into play live in class when you attend. You can also see them in the recordings of the previous reading comp sessions as well. So if you want more examples with the Google Doc walkthroughs, you'll find them there.
Okay.
Any particular topics you find difficult in reading comp?
I guess definitely more of, do you mean like, sorry, like passage topics?
Yeah, so passage topics like general themes, like it could be science versus humanities, or it could be specific topics that you've had trouble with.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I would say more the humanities I have trouble with, because I guess it's a little unusual maybe, but I'm actually a doctor of pharmacy student. So I'll be graduating pharmacy school in May. So I feel like I have a better grasp on the scientific questions or scientific related questions, just because I can understand kind of more what they're trying to talk about. So I would say definitely the humanities are giving me more of a trouble.
I hear you on that. I hear you. Well, then I would recommend one outside resource you could use would be Arts and Letters Daily. It's aldaily.com as something to read a little bit on the side to get more familiar with the kinds of topics that come up in LSAT reading comp on the humanities side. Of course, the best is always actual LSAT passages, but sometimes you just want something different for a change of pace. And so that could be one place you look at for more on those kinds of topics.
Okay.
Just to get general exposure.
Right. I know that like reading, that's suggested to like read more just in general. for the reading comprehension part. So I'll definitely take a look.
Yeah, of course.
um, I guess another question I had would be in terms of taking practice tests. So the only practice test I've ever taken, I guess, was like my diagnostic test. I took one back in like February and I haven't taken one since. I don't know if do you recommend taking one now again to see where I'm at, or should I wait a little bit longer, I guess?
Well, how long have you been back in the mix in terms of working on the different sections and refamiliarizing yourself with the different question types and approaches for each?
So I technically finished the books I was previously using on all the sections, but I obviously felt like that wasn't enough, just like reading and not having like a day by day structure because I would do a lot one day and like one page the next day. So I don't really know if I was comprehending everything to the extent that I could be or should be, I guess. But I do know of like different question types basically and kind of how to approach them. But I would say not, I don't have like a good or like expert handle on them yet. um, so yeah, I mean, definitely I feel obviously better than my diagnostic test that I took, but not super there yet. I just don't know if I would really see any difference or just it'd be like a waste of time maybe at this point.
I hear you. Well, based on everything you shared with me, it sounds like you have enough familiarity with the different sections to start adding some timed exams into the mix. If you were starting cold, I'd say build a strong foundation in each section first, but you already have familiarity with the exam as a whole. Right. And so recognizing that you may not feel that you're at expert level yet, you could start doing timed exams and don't take them as any indication of where you will ultimately end up. The idea is not to measure yourself. The idea is to work on the pacing, work on the endurance as test day approaches. You could start with one timed exam a week plus reviewing it in depth. And then as you get closer to test day, maybe 1 month out, you start doing 2 timed exams a week and detailed review. But for now, 1 a week plus review, plus working on weak areas, attending the classes, watching the recordings of the previous classes, and drilling any weak areas.
Okay, sounds good. I guess it's gonna look a dumb question, but I did purchase the Law Hub, of course, to do the practice problems and everything. I don't believe they have explanations, right? They just have
That's right.
Correct. Okay, just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything because I see they give me the correct answer, but okay.
Yeah, they don't give any explanations. And of course, there are many explanations out there, and we have many in the course as well. But I'd actually encourage you to not go straight to explanations, but instead try to work it out yourself first through that Socratic review method process you'll see in the classes.
Okay, sounds good. Will do. I guess the last thing would be if you have any other advice within the next 2 months that I should be doing or anything maybe additional to the day by day programs, and then maybe putting in like one test a week if there's like anything else you recommend. Because I just, of course, I feel like the pressure is like really coming now. And I'm like taking a look at applications and stuff now, but I'm mostly focusing on the test. But yeah, so I don't know if you have any advice or any tips because I'm kind of just going into this based on, and then I ask like friends because some friends I have are in law school, so I'm asking them about like their experiences and everything. But I don't know if you have any tips or advice.
No, of course. Yeah, and I understand friends in law school want to help you. And of course, they've all tried a million different things. A lot of their advice will conflict with other people's advice. And so take it all with a grain of salt and try to focus on one thing at a time. So you've joined the course, you have the 2-month plan, you have the live classes, you have the recordings of the previous ones. You've got enough on your plate. One timed exam a week, plus review, plus drilling weak areas, attending the classes and such. You've got enough to work on for now. All my general advice is in the course, but one thing I'll suggest for you in particular is, again, since you mentioned reading comp as an area you want to focus on, go through the recordings of the previous reading comp classes. Do the passage, then watch the class recording and follow along and see what insights you can gain from how we break down the structure of the passage, how we break down analyzing the tempting wrong answers and the oftentimes unappealing correct answers. Look for those little nuances and follow along. Then when you go to class, engage, participate, ask your questions. You can also submit requests for future passages to be covered in an upcoming class. So take full advantage. You got a lot here.
Okay. And I guess in terms of that, so doing reading comprehension or logical reasoning while I'm currently in the logic games part of the program. So that would be like, not okay. Would that be, I guess, a good idea to like also be reading up on the reading comprehend and logical reasoning while I'm quote unquote like focusing on the logic games, because the day-to-day plan for at least a week is logic games.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can focus on logic games while simultaneously doing some work on reading comprehension on the side. Additionally, if you feel really good on logic games, but reading comp is the area that needs focus, you can change it up. That schedule is just a general template for someone starting from scratch. That may not be what you personally need, given what you want to focus on, given what you've identified as a particular weak area you want to look at more.
Okay.
So feel free to change it up and mix it around a bit. Do you feel pretty good on logic games?
I would say the only like the hardest questions for me that I get maybe like half of them right on are the grouping from questions, grouping games, and yeah. But the ordering, I feel pretty good on at the moment.
Okay, so there you go. So work on grouping games in particular. Don't give ordering games that much attention, and note that you will still encounter ordering games in any game type in the context of timed sections and timed exams. So you may not need to go over the basics of ordering foundational material that much. You could maybe skip that and devote that time to reading comp instead, or devote that time to grouping games instead. Definitely feel free to customize and modify the plan.
Okay. Sounds good. That was only like if you part, I don't know if I should or not, but makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for the advice.
My pleasure, Nicole. Anything else for today?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Keep in touch. Reach out if you need anything at all. I'm happy to help.
Okay, will do.
Have a good one.
Have a good day.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.